Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Trash Your Football. Today I wanted to make a video talking about who should be on the cover of EA Sports College Football 25. So I made 6 different covers, all made by myself in Photoshop. It took me like 20 minutes to make all of them. I didn't spend a lot of time. I wasn't trying to make it look super great, but I tried to make them look pretty good. So the first one, we'll start off with the national championship cover with Jim Harbaugh and JJ McCarthy. I think this is a deserving one, at least for Jim Harbaugh. You know, he finally won his first national championship at Michigan and then is now the head coach for the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't think that any head coach will actually be on the cover of the video game because they won't actually be a part of the game. But since Jim Harbaugh is not a college coach anymore, there's still a great possibility of it happening, but I sincerely doubt it. Now, Jim Harbaugh's coaching career at Michigan, he went 86-25 in his last season undefeated, won the national championship and the Rose Bowl and the Big Ten championship. Definitely his best year as head coach, and even the year before, 13-1, and the year before, 12-2, coming off that awful 2020 COVID year. And then for JJ McCarthy, you have the guy who played quarterback for Michigan for couple of years, only started with about 2 years. His career, he did go 482 for 713, 6,226 yards, 49 touchdowns, and only 11 interceptions. JJ McCarthy was a great general at quarterback, never the best quarterback in the country, but was also a very respectable quarterback. Everybody liked to respect him, and say that he's a great quarterback, and I think he's going to do pretty good things in the NFL, and Jim Harbaugh may or may not try and snatch him up in the NFL draft. We'll have to see. But this is my first pick for who I think should or could or would be on the cover for EA Sports College Football 25. Now up next, you guys may have seen this on the community's post. For the sneak peek, we have Quinn Ewers, who has been undoubtedly one of the better college quarterbacks in recent memory, at least. I mean, especially last year, they did go to the national championship. They went to the championship playoffs, but they did lose to Michigan. Or not Michigan, they lost to Washington. Sorry, I have a lot of things that's going on right this second. I just noticed my LED lights on my PC are messed up. But Quinn Ewers in his career so far, 444 for 690, 5,656 yards, 37 touchdowns to just 12 interceptions. Especially last year, throwing for over 3,400 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 6 picks. If he can work on getting a little bit more touchdowns through the air and a little bit less interceptions, he could very well win the Heisman next year. And he also probably could enter the NFL draft. I mean, if you look at this cover, I think this is probably one of my favorite ones that I did, which is the reason why I uploaded it to the community's post on the YouTube channel. Quinn Ewers is probably going to be the best quarterback in the Big 12 this year. Either him or Shedeur Sanders. And speaking of Shedeur Sanders, we have Shedeur Sanders next up on the list. Shedeur Sanders last year, he did go for his first year in college, like Division I FBS college. He did go 298 for 430, 3,230 yards, 27 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions. Shedeur Sanders, I still think, does have another year of eligibility left in him. He's still a really good quarterback, and a lot of people had a lot of Heisman hopes for him early in the season last year after the TCU and Nebraska games, but it really fell off because of Colorado's defense being one of the worst in the country. Shedeur Sanders is probably the most likely to get the cover for this game this year. It'll probably be Shedeur Sanders or this guy, who I think is the top tier candidate, Travis Hunter, who is also played his first year at Colorado last season. He did get 57 receptions for 721 yards, 5 touchdowns, and on defense, he did get 22 tackles, solo tackles, 30 total, and 3 interceptions. He ended up being a really good player. A little underwhelming, but I think that he can end up being very good next year. So we'll just have to see. So for Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, I think are 2 of the most possible that we could get this year for the cover of College Football 25. I want to know what you guys think between these 2 in the comments, because this is the 2 that I think are going to get it. It's one of these 2. But up next, we have Caleb Williams. Now, a lot of people, when I did put in the communities post, I asked, who do you think should be on the cover? And I did see somebody say all of the past Heisman winners, and I think that's a great idea. I don't think they will do it, though, and I just didn't have enough time to make a cover that was all of the Heisman covers, so I did make who's probably the best college quarterback in recent memory that's entering the NFL draft. He's definitely the consensus number one in the upcoming NFL draft, is Caleb Williams. He did play a year at Oklahoma at freshman. He did, I think, take the starting job from Spencer Rattler, and he did end up going to South Carolina. And Caleb Williams went to USC with Lincoln Riley. And in his 2 years at USC, he went 599 for 888, 8,170 yards, 72 touchdowns, and only 10 interceptions. And a total in his career, threw for over 10,000 yards, 93 touchdowns, and just 14 interceptions. That's a really good quarterback. That's some really good quarterback stats right there. Caleb Williams, if it's going to be a player that's not technically playing in college anymore, that's kind of how they used to do it. Because I do remember Tim Tebow was on the cover of NCAA Football 11. And if you remember, the game comes out in the fiscal year, so that would have came out in 2010. Tebow didn't play college in 2010. He had already been drafted to the Denver Broncos by that time. So a lot of the players that would end up being on the cover would already be in the NFL by that point. So I don't know if they're going to go that route again and pick people who have already played that are not in the game, but I don't know if that's specifically a really good idea, but we'll just have to see. But I do think Caleb Williams is definitely deserving for that title of being on the cover of College Football 25. And last but not least, we have Nick Saban. Now, this cover I did make about a month or two ago. It's actually on one of the thumbnails for one of the videos that I did. It was probably I think it was the first video I made on the comeback on the channel when the channel started to blow up and everything. Nick Saban, the greatest college coach of all time. I mean, you could say Bear Bryant, but I really think a lot of more people are going to say Nick Saban just because of how he really advanced the game, his tenure at Alabama. Nick Saban, man, let me tell you this. At his tenure as head coach at Alabama, 201 and 29 of all, of all of his games at Alabama, and just SEC-wise, 117 and 18. Now, a lot of those losses did come in his first year, but in 2010 was a kind of a down year for Alabama too, but the rest of those years, I mean, Nick Saban won 6 national championships at Alabama, not even including the 7th one that he won at LSU. Nick Saban's the greatest coach of all time. I don't care what anybody says. He is probably, if any coach is going to be on the cover, I don't even care about Jim Harbaugh. I don't care if Dion. I think if any coach is going to be on the cover, it's Nick Saban. He deserves it out of anybody. He is the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. This is coming from a Florida Gator fan. I've had to have him beat down on us almost every couple of years, either during the regular season or SEC championship. We only beat Saban once, and that was the 2008 SEC championship. Nick Saban is the greatest coach of all time. Even when he lost the game, they still looked great, except for his last couple of years after the 2020 season. 21, 22, and 23 didn't look the greatest, did lose a couple of games that they shouldn't have lost. There was a couple of games that they should have won by a lot more. Not saying they should have ran up the score, but that USF game last year was pitiful. But I do remember that actually being in the rain. I think Bama actually ended up winning that game just only 17-3. But Nick Saban is the greatest coach of all time, and I think he deserves to be on the cover more than anybody. Let me know what you guys think out of all of these 6 covers right here. Let me know who you think should be on the cover, or if you have somebody different, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see if I could probably make a part 2 to this video somewhere down the line in a couple of weeks before the May reveal in a month. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys later.